Wife cheated and my life unraveled. A few years ago, my 39M wife, 39F, let me know she had been cheating on me for a few years off and on. This was devastating. We had been together for 18 years. Her primary grievance was that we weren't having enough sex. I tried to make it work, and we lasted 2 more years before we finally called it quits. During a discussion near the end where we were talking about our relationship and how it was falling apart, I suggested we see a couples therapist. Even though we were both pretty well resolved in ending things, I felt it could change our situation from a 0% chance to a 1% chance. We saw a therapist together a few times. As part of that process, I got a brain scan to investigate why my libido might be lower than average. The scans revealed that a concussion early in life had left behind evidence of moderate brain damage and possible atrophy. Luckily, the prognosis is okay. So far it's been alright, and I've been working with a doctor to try and treat it. No conclusions from the scan about my libido other than brain damage might cause that. Some blood work showed a few more actionable things we've been working on, so that's good at least. The worst thing that came out of the scan results and the prognosis was that I felt so scared, and I knew I couldn't go to my partner with those feelings, so I just cried. I sat in my office and cried about it. This was a damning piece of evidence that our relationship was over. I didn't trust her. A concept I learned about in therapy, I saw a therapist on my own, starting shortly after she told me about the affair, is the Sound Relationship House, from the Gottman Institute. The metaphor is that a relationship is like a house, you build it floor by floor, and the whole thing is held up by 2 pillars, trust and commitment. Well, she wasn't committed to me, and I didn't trust her, so the whole thing fell over. A couple weeks after the scan results, we had our final session with our couples counselor where we resolved to end our marriage. The next month after the scan and our counseling sessions, she moved out and it was really over. 2 weeks after she moved out, the company I was working for, and had helped found and run for 4 years, was shut down by the parent company. I lost my job. I was working with a therapist at the time, and he warned me, there's a chance you may become unmoored. Floating without direction, and he was totally right. I feel like I'm adrift at sea most days. I don't really have a lot of meaningful connections anymore. I don't get along well with my family, and they're on the other side of the continent. I have a couple close friends that I'm grateful for. I had a contract gig for a bit, but have not sought out another one. After selling the house, and collecting unemployment for the layoff, I haven't had to work for a bit. I'm very grateful and privileged to be in that position. But the emotional toll of these rapid-fire traumatic events has left me completely unmotivated and unraveled emotionally. There is so much pain and sadness from ending a relationship that spanned almost 2 decades. The most poignant example I think was when I was emptying the house. She had left behind some stuff for me to throw out. One thing was a box filled with every card I had ever given her for a birthday, anniversary, Christmas, or any occasion. I always took time to write something meaningful on them, to personalize them, and to draw dicks on them to make her laugh. I took a look and they went all the way back to the start of the relationship. She saved them all, only to leave them here for me to put in a dumpster. I never felt as alone as I did when I was standing in the totally empty house that we had shared. The way my footsteps echoed made me cry very hard. I sat on the floor of the kitchen and just cried. Now that the dust has settled after these major life upheavals, I'm left with the feeling of just being a total loser. Lost some of my health, lost my marriage, lost my job. And of course waves of sadness over what could have been knock me over every once in a while. But I recognize these feelings and cry about it, then keep going. I don't know what's next for me. I'll probably get another contract gig and just keep plowing forward. It's been almost 2 years since we broke up, and I've sometimes thought about dating. I got as far as making a Hinge account, and when it asked for photos of myself I just closed the app and haven't gone back. My self-image is in shambles still, so maybe I'm not ready for that yet. My biggest takeaway from all of this is that therapy rules. It rules so hard and everyone should do it. It really requires you put your entire self into it. I did everything the therapist asked, read every book, and did every exercise. As a result, I do feel hope for the future. I know I'm low right now, but I'll bounce back eventually. The reason for that optimism is because of what I learned in therapy. I don't really know why I'm writing this here. I'm a guy and I've been crying a lot, so I guess it fits. If anyone can relate to the rambling stuff I've written, then my sincere advice is to get a good therapist.